take maybe supplements, you don't do electrolytes.
No.
And then you said you don't do seasonings other than salt. So, I mean, like I said, you are the most strict carnivore I have met. How do you know? So a lot of times people ask me, how do you know that you're getting all of the vitamins and minerals your body needs, especially on the weeks or the months or the years where you don't do organ meats? And if you don't do, every day with eggs, and if you don't have every day with more variety, or fish even. I was kind of confused. The fish thing I was surprised about too. So you're just doing mostly red meat all the time.
Yeah.
And how are you getting all the vitamins and minerals you need?
Yeah, I mean, so it just comes down to if this is our evolved diet, then by definition, it will have everything that we need to live optimally. And it will have no deficiencies. A simple test of this is looking at the Inuits and other people living in the northern reaches that they're up in the Arctic Circle. There are no plants for them to eat. How are they doing it? If you're deficient in one nutrient to 1 degree, you cannot live generationally. You cannot, gestate and grow a fetus inside of you, give birth to that fetus, have that fetus exclusively eat this thing, make more babies and so forth, generation after generation after generation, if you are deficient in one thing. Then you look at things like, Herodotus, who was the original Greek historian. He chronicled an interaction between a Persian emissary and the king of Ethiopia. And the king of Ethiopia asked, "He's like, okay, what do you your emperor eat, and how long do your people live to?" And they, this was early on in the agricultural revolution, and so they described, growing wheat and making bread, and they said, our people would live, about 70 years. This is 3,000 years ago, by the way, and the king of Ethiopia sort of laughed at him and said, like, well, no wonder you live such short lives if you eat dirt. Like our people only eat boiled meat and we only drink the milk of our cattle, and we would live 120 years, sometimes more. That sounds far-fetched, but we know as geneticists for the past 20 years that chromosomally, genetically, humans should be living on average about 120 years exactly. And so, that means that if you just stay out of your own way, if you just don't mess up, you should live 120 years without doing anything special. And yet we're dying in our 60s and 70s. And you see that as that first example, in Persia, they're eating a lot of bread and they're living 70 years. And then in places not eating bread, they're eating, the way we've sort of evolved to eat, they're living 120 years. They're making it to our, genetic average. These other guys are making it to today's average, basically. And that shows you how significant of a detriment these things are. And they say, oh, well, what about your RDAs? And what about this? I mean, those were all, those all came up with, first of all, by a guy named Ansel Keys, who was a known crook and paid shill for the sugar companies. He's put forth a lot of fake studies and so forth, arguing that cholesterol caused heart disease when it's actually sugar. And now we have clear documentation that he was being paid off by the sugar companies to falsify data and publish fraudulent studies. So this guy, I just don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth anyway. But let's say that was legitimate. He was looking at people who were eating a mixed diet. And when you eat a mixed diet, you need a different constellation of nutrients. Vitamin C is a classic example. If you're not eating enough meat, you're not going to get enough collagen. You'll need vitamin C to hydrolyze, proline and lysine in order to, have proper binding collagen. Vitamin C looks like a fructose molecule with a tail on it. So it looks like a carbohydrate with another couple molecules on it. This actually competes for binding sites in your gut with carbohydrates. And so if you're eating carbohydrates, you need to eat a lot more vitamin C in order to absorb that. Then if you have higher blood sugar, this actually opposes vitamin C utilization in your body. So you're hitting yourself twice. So you're going to need a lot more vitamin C just to get any use out of it. And then if you're exclusively eating meat, you're going to already be getting these, collagen and these, hydrolyzed proteins. So you don't actually need the vitamin C for that, right? So it's a very different thing. And so, if you're looking at a carnivore population, the amount of vitamin C that we need is minuscule. Okay. And so, I don't worry about the RDAs. I worry about, hard facts and science. And the fact that, I've been doing this 10 out of the last 20 years and my gums aren't bleeding and I feel amazing, tells me that I really don't actually need to take a vitamin C supplement. And so when I had a friend of mine who's an endocrinologist, when I was talking to him about, carnivore diet and so forth, he was very interested in this because he'd been doing bariatric medicine, weight loss, and preventive medicine for 40 years. And so, all this stuff was really resonating with him. He's like, "Oh, this is really interesting." And he said, "Okay, well, you look good. You look like you're in really good shape, but, let's check under the hood. Let's see what your bloods are like." And, he called me a couple of weeks later when when the results were back. And, I was confident that they would be fine. So I never took them, as I didn't really care, because whatever they were, I was confident.
You're a medical doctor and you don't get blood work done. I love it.
No, I don't care. Like, it's like, I mean, it's like, you don't get blood work on a patient unless it's going to, affect your treatment. Do I want, I order this blood test? Is the answer to that going to change something that I do? Mm-hmm. If it's not, then, why do it? And he called me up a couple of weeks later when all the results were back in, and he said, "We should talk about this diet thing over a steak sometime, because results came back and they were really good." So we went through them and we went through all the tests, and he said that, I think I was 38 at the time. He said, for someone your age, if you took 100,000 people off the street, your same age, your blood, and did all their bloods, yours would be number one without a shadow of a doubt. And so we went through each and every one. And so not only were my numbers, my hormone panel, my vitamin panel, all these sorts of different markers, not only were they, optimal for someone my age, most of these were optimal for a healthy male adult at 25. My magnesium and my zinc were sort of in the low normal range, but he said that it was far higher than anyone else in Australia that doesn't take supplements that he's seen. So that's one thing, but I still think that even with the deficiencies of the soil in whatever area that you're in, if you're just eating meat, that you'll be fine.